Hello there, Paleo FX tribe. How is everybody doing on a fantastic Tuesday, the week before the big Paleo FX show? We are stoked. Our team is working freaking overtime is not even the correct term. I don't know what it
Night and
is.
day,
It is,
maybe
yeah, night and day,
24/7.
24/7. We are rolling. We had a late night last night, and many more to come. That's putting on an event. That's called the event season, and it has hit us full force. Let me ask you this. So let's say you're traveling. Let's say you're working out and you don't have access to clean food, available clean food. Let's say you're doing what I got talked into doing in June, the Oregon 500 bicycle ride. Oh man, yeah, I got talked into that. So the Oregon 500 bicycle ride, you need good, high quality nutrition, and you don't have a lot of room, you don't have space, you don't have places to where readily. What are you gonna do? I tell you what you can do. You can use my man Connor Moore's Ample supplement, meal replacement. That's a good question to lead off, Connor. Is Ample a supplement or a meal replacement?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I mean, ultimately, yeah, I mean, for some people, they're going to replace a meal. Like, let's just say you're super busy. You're like, oh man, like lunch is just not going to happen today because like I'm back to back meetings, and all of a sudden, this meeting I thought was going to take an hour actually took an hour and a half, and it's just like butted right up against the next meeting. It's like, shoot, what do I do? So yeah, I mean, you'd use an Ample. This is Ample. This is our
Yep.
keto formula, and so you put water in it, shake it up, and drink. And so yeah, in that sense, you're replacing a meal, but you're not replacing a diet. This is we're not ever trying to say, hey, like go and replace all your meals with Ample. No, this is definitely like this is the type of emergency backup meal that you can have when you're traveling, when you're pressed for time, when your crazy life just does not allow you to eat the way that you want to be able to eat.
Right, right. And like I say, traveling, those things are lifesavers. Number one, because they're light, right?
Hmm.
They don't have all the liquid. You put the liquid in as you need it. So you're
Yeah.
carrying around essentially
And,
powder in a bottle, which is cool.
and they're TSA compliant. So because they don't have liquid in them, you can get through the TSA line. You can just, you can take two or three of them, to wherever you're going,
Right.
have one on the flight there, have one on the flight back, because it's a heck of a lot better than this super overpriced and ridiculously bad for you airplane food.
Absolutely. Connor, how did you get into this area of business?
Yeah, so good question. Quick bit about my background. As my shirt suggests, I got into CrossFit back in the day. This is probably like an eight-year-old T-shirt, but I started a CrossFit gym right out of college. I'm 30 years old right now. Although I do look like I'm in my like early 20s, admittedly so. But so I started this CrossFit gym, and I was really excited about helping people kind of have a more preventative like lifestyle change. But at the same time, I was a bio major, and I was very interested in the chemistry, the biology, the biochem of the human body. So I wanted to see what the medical space was like. I sold devices for Johnson & Johnson, and I got an opportunity to be in the operating room next to some of the best surgeons in the world. And, up at Cleveland Clinic, being in these heart operations. But it was cool on one side, but it was also depressing on another, because you're looking at these people and realizing I, you know, their issues could have been solved 10 or
Right.
15 years ago if they had had proper diet and lifestyle. So I moved out to San Francisco, and I wanted to create basically a startup that would help them. Um, I waffled around a couple of things, but then, when I was living in this entrepreneurial community, all my friends were saying, Connor, we know what we're supposed to do, but we just don't have time to implement it on a daily basis. Like,
Right.
I had a couple of friends, like one of my friends specifically, he was the CTO, or chief technical officer, at an early stage startup. And so it's his job to kind of like go in the zone for like 8 hours a day straight. And for him, it's like there's so much working memory that's required that his productivity would dramatically reduce
Mhm.
if he had, to break it up constantly. So he needed long chunks of time. And so he's like, I'm looking for something that can kind of bridge me or like take me through that time. And so there's another product that was on the market, and it made him feel like crap, and he would get brain fog when he was trying to make this stuff work. And he's like, could you make something that's better, or could you show me an opportunity? Like, and I looked on the market and I was like, there is nothing. I don't see anything that's devoid of all of the kind of, like stuff with anti-nutrients, and
Right.
it's that's devoid of a bunch of sugar, but also still has the amount of calories, the amount of healthy fats, the protein, the fiber, probiotics, and I don't see that on the market. So I was like, you know what, like I'll just make it. And so I started out just mixing ingredients that I bought on Amazon, and I made him this like shake, and it was terrible tasting. It was awful, but it got the job done, and he was so thankful because he was actually able to work his whole day without getting brain fog and without having any of these like histamine or cytokine responses.
Right.
And I was like, that's really powerful. So the rest of my friends in this community, they all wanted what he had. So I started selling it, and lo and behold, 3 months later, 20 out of the 50 people started using it every day. And I was like, wow, if this could scale, that could be a really good business. But more importantly, this could help a lot of people in their transition to a healthier diet.
Right.
That's not, and some people, they're coming from, hey, I have some really high health standards, but I have to have packaged foods once in a while. And
Right.
so therefore, like, okay, if I'm going to have a packaged food, let me have the best packaged food. It's still subpar to the Whole Foods, and that's totally fine. I'm accepting of that, of course. And then there's this other group of people who are like, hey, I don't even know where to start. Okay, well, cool. This is a way to start, and then we can kind of bridge you into having a Whole Foods, and let's just say paleo lifestyle, like from there. And so that's kind of where we fit in this kind of happy intermediate way that kind of fits with a lot of people's nutritional standards, and also fits the convenience aspect.
Very cool. And you guys have 3 different variations, right? Would you like
That's
to
right.
discuss those 3?
Yeah, totally. So we have, so I just pulled up this one. It's our Ample K. It's our newest formula, but it's also the one that's the most popular, frankly, these days, because it's just got 3 net grams of carbs for every 400 calories, and it does not have any sugar alcohols, and which is actually, and yet it still tastes good. So it's been a really, really powerful work of art from our head of R&D, Julie.
Right.
And I'm really, really excited about how that product has turned out, and where we're going with it. So we also have Ample Original. And by the way, all of these come in 400 calorie sizes. So this is a 400 calorie, and this is a 600 calorie. And you'll notice that the difference here on this one is so this is Ample Original. It's a little bit of a higher protein version. Mm-hmm. And so it's got about 12 net carbs per 400 calorie version. And so still low carb. Right. Basically, all of them are relatively low carb. But keto is just like the one that's very low carb. But this one has a little bit higher protein. So a lot of people use it for like a post-workout meal or whatever. And then we have, this is our Ample V. It's basically our plant-based one that's for a lot of people, actually, like myself, who don't tolerate grass-fed whey protein as much. It's better for that reason. So it doesn't have any lactose, and basically it's kind of good for some of the people who are kind of on their like autoimmune type of paleo route, which I myself, that's the one that I gravitate towards.
I'll tell you what I like about these. What I like about Ample is precisely because it has a higher calorie content, right? Mm-hmm. So most bars are hovering around 230, 250 calories.
Yeah.
And it's just not enough for me, man. Yeah. I need that extra bump, and 400 mm-hmm. calories is a good sweet spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was very intentional. Like, especially when I was looking at the traditional meal replacement, quote unquote, market, it's filled with companies like, I don't know, one of them is Slim Fast, or like Garden of Life, or Vega, or Ensure. All of them are kind of trying to be effectively caloric restrictive, which my personal philosophy is, if you have the right calories, if you have the calories from the right sources, you don't need to try to be calorically restrictive. Your
Right.
body's going to adapt to becoming, to become metabolically efficient, metabolically flexible, and your weight will kind of normalize on its own. So why not actually solve for satiety instead of caloric restriction? So, having a 400 calorie version of Ample that actually makes you feel satiated and doesn't make you want to crave more food, that
Right.
to me is the real win.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Also one of the reasons why we called it Ample.
Right. And you guys are proud sponsors of Paleo FX this year. And we are
Happy to be here.
happy to have you guys come in, man. And we were talking a little bit before we hit the live switch, and we don't want to call anybody else's conference ugly, but I have been to other conferences, Connor, and there is because that's our job. I mean, we have to go see what's happening, seeing if we're doing the right thing, seeing if we're getting the right crowd in. And we were just talking about what an awesome crowd in general the Paleo FX tribe is. It's just
yeah. So let me stop you, because naturally people who listen to you, they're always like, oh, well, Keith, he's of course going to promote his own product,
right.
his own conference. But I'm not, and I really do truly feel like that's the case, because I've been to a lot of other conferences, but what I like about Paleo FX, so I've been there 3 or 4 times, and partially with Ample. Well, the first year is just because I was really excited about nutrition, and I wanted to kind of level up my skills, and my knowledge, and just kind of meet the people who I felt were kind of famous in this industry. And so what I love is that it's a very, very, it's got a very high level of conversation, yet it's still accessible to basically anyone who wants to learn. And the balance of clinical to practice, the balance of just purely academic and let's just say, the commercial side of thing, I think you've nailed it. And, everything. And I think the other kind of important piece here is the vibe, as unscientific as that is, but like the actual energy of the place is very positive, very supportive, very, well, I guess I'll kind of liken it to my old CrossFit gym, or basically any CrossFit gym, which is a very supportive, like, can do, let's do it together. Like, we're all in this together, and we're all going to help each other out towards our all of our goals. It's not competitive. Even if you're talking, even my like us being a vendor towards another vendor, that's even not competitive. But it's all, it's just a very supportive community that I think that you guys have done a fantastic job of helping to cultivate.
Right. And I love the attitude of the vendors that we have, or the exhibitors that we have come in, and the sponsors, is everyone to a T recognizes that, it's a cliche, but the rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
Right. There's not a scarcity mindset there. There's an abundance mindset. And I've loved that. That has just permeated throughout the show. It was there, the first year we had Paleo FX, and it has continued. And that was one of the things that I was, and Michelle as well, were a little bit scared about. Are we going to, as this thing grows, as it expands, are we going to lose that vibe that we love so much? And it hasn't. I mean, if anything, it's expanded, which is
well. And I think, it hasn't, but also you have made it happen. Like you've actively kept that vibe. So I think that, like, the mentality of a leader of a community is often a manifestation or a reflection of the mentality of the leader. And so you two, at least within this context, and I would say, a leader as well, just within the paleo community in general, you guys do lead it. And so I think that's not just it's not just a wishful hope that we want the thing to happen, but you've made it that way, which I really respect.
I appreciate that. Certainly appreciate that, and we will keep this train rolling as long as it keeps barreling down the track.
Definitely.
Connor, how many? You will be at Paleo FX. You will have Ample to sell.
Yep.
I can't imagine how many crates you're going to have to bring into the Palmer Center to satisfy. And let me just say this: getting food into the Palmer is extremely difficult. I mean, we get this question every year. How come there's not like, food trucks and things like that out there? And we try to explain to people that it is a city red tape maze that you cannot even
Yeah.
imagine. It is so difficult to get exhibitors out there to be able to sell food. And I don't want to go down that whole train, but it's
Hmm.
very, very difficult. So I can't think of a better booth to stop by while you're at Paleo FX, because again, it is so easy. Just add water, shake it up, and you're ready to rock and roll.
There we
So
go. And I will say as well, we are anyone who comes will have a free ample meal in their bag, so they can definitely use that for one of the occasions that they're looking to nourish themselves with.
right, right. And we party the other day. Boom. So yes, you will get that first set. The first one's always free, isn't it, Connor?
Definitely.
The first one's free. But seriously, fantastic product. I can't wait to take a bunch of them with me out to Oregon in June for the ride, because that is a perfect thing to take on a long bike ride, just in traveling. That's my two
Yeah.
go-tos
Yeah.
to use it.
And I'm curious, do you do a little bit more like low carb, or are you kind of mid carb or so? Um,
I am low carb, pretty much, bordering on keto most
yeah.
of the time, but I
Well,
don't
that's
just.
good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think because we have a couple products, and of course, like some of them are low carb, some of them are keto.
Right.
I myself am kind of I teeter between the two of them.
Right.
I feel like I'm metabolically flexible enough where
Right.
I'm not going to do any damage by my body knows how to metabolize and use ketones, so I'm all good. But I think the nice thing is that when you're on this long bike, when your body actually wants to oxidize a ton of fat, well, luckily that there is a ton of fat
Right.
that you can metabolize. There's a little bit of glycogen there for you as well, and there's also protein for for muscles as well.
Right. Right. And traditionally, when I'm doing things like that, it's I will stay extremely low carbohydrate until that evening, and then if I feel
Yeah,
like I need a carbohydrate pop, I'll take it in. And for me,
yeah,
that means like an extra potato or so. I mean, it's crazy.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still crazy low, but that's just how I motor along. That's how I feel best. That's, I look, feel, and perform better eating that way.
Hmm.
Um, so I'll keep doing it. But I'm so very happy that Ample exists for things like this, because Michelle and I are on the road a lot, a whole lot.
I
Um,
can imagine.
right. And so, having the availability to have very, very good nutrition in a pinch is a lifesaver. So thank you, Connor, very much for creating the product. Kudos to you
Well,
for doing it, because
appreciate it.
I know how very difficult it is to create a food product. It is.
Yeah, especially one that's like not a commodity food product, like one that
Right.
actually really does require actual, R&D, real like pushing the suppliers to actually,
Right.
come up with better ingredients that like more naturally fit like a, let's just say, a low carbohydrate lifestyle. That stuff is not easy. It's a lot easier to just say, hey, I'm going to make the same protein,
Right.
grass-fed whey protein, and I'm going to slap a label on it. But to actually make something like this, it does take a lot of work, and I appreciate you recognizing it.
Right.
So, and I think people will as well, as soon as they taste it and they kind of look at the macros and they're like, well, how are you able to actually make it taste good, but actually keep the macros well, like, and
Right.
and not have a bunch of artificial sweeteners or even
Right.
sugar alcohol as well. Uh, a lot of work.
I get it. A ton of work in quality sourcing, all of that.
Yeah,
I get it.
exactly.
It's tough. It's tough to be able to do that. And like you said, at the end of the day, you can have all those perfect profiles, but if it doesn't taste good,
Hmm.
then you're
Yeah,
back to square one. So
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Well, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, well, and I don't even want to say unfortunately, but taste is really, really important, and I think that there's this kind of like, in the biohacker community, it's a lot of times it's like, oh well, it doesn't care. I don't care what it tastes like, which I agree on like a logical perception that is the case. It feels, however, that most of the time, um, it's it's at some point your emotions are going to get back into it and be like, you know
Yep.
what, I just want to feel like I like the thing that I consume.
Right.
So yeah, so that is important.
No.
However, I
Very
will
good.
say, like, we always want to make sure that our ingredient quality standards and the macros were always kind of number one, and then we were always going to try to, with that, given that constraint, how do we increase our taste to that level?
Right. Well, you guys have nailed it. So
Thank you.
kudos to you.
Appreciate it.
Kudos to you for that. And we cannot wait to see you guys at Paleo FX. Everybody out there in the paleo world, when you come into Paleo FX, drop by the Ample booth. You will have a free sample in your goodie bag. But make sure you drop by, check out all the flavors
Definitely.
that Connor will have there, because he's bringing, I'm quite sure, a truck full.
Yes, and then also we'll be doing pre-sales for a new product that's just about to come out, and I won't say any more, but it's very exciting. It's something that people have been asking for the last 2 years, and so we're going to be basically announcing it on that Friday. So PaleoFX is the time that we're going to be talking about that. So and once again, thank you, Keith, for making such a great conference, and basically putting together this stage that we would want to and feel fantastic about pre-launching our new product on.
Right. And thank you and every entrepreneur like you who is filling that void that's being vacated by the paradigm that we are crashing and bringing down. Because
there we go.
People need options, man. It's not just about tearing down the old. It's about having options to fill the void whenever the old goes away. So thank you very much for doing that. Frank Preeb, what's up, brother? Signing out now. Everybody in Paleo FX world, I will see you in a couple weeks. I cannot wait. Connor, I will see you in a couple weeks, and I cannot wait.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Keith.
Right on, brother. Right on.
All right,
safe
man.
travel.
We'll see you later.
Austin, be safe.
Right, definitely. You too.
Right on. All right, everybody. Signing out for now. We will check you back on the flip.